People often misunderstand INFJ. They look quiet, kind, and flexible. They listen more than they speak. They give others the benefit of the doubt. At first glance, INFJs might seem like the easiest people to influence, shape, or even control. But nothing could be further from the truth. INFJs are not weak. They are not passive. And they are definitely not controllable. They have a strength that doesn't show on the surface. Their power is internal, built into how they think, feel, and see the world. They might not resist with anger or defiance, but they will resist in their own way. Calmly, quietly, completely. This is what makes them so hard to control. People try anyway. They try through pressure, guilt, emotional games, logic, fear. But the INFJ's inner system is different from most. They're not motivated by power. They don't care about trends or group approval. They follow something stronger than all of that, their inner truth. When someone tries to take that away from them, INFJs don't fold. They pull away. They go silent. They use their insight to step around the trap. And often, the person trying to control them doesn't even realize what just happened. This video will break down 6 powerful reasons why no one can control the INFJ. Not parents, not partners, not bosses, not society. The more you push them, the more their real strength shows up. If you're an INFJ, this might explain parts of yourself you've always felt but never put into words. If you know an INFJ, this might help you understand why trying to force them rarely works, and why trusting them works better. Let's begin with reason number 1. Reason number 1. They live by inner values, not external norms. INTFJs have something many people don't, a personal inner compass. This isn't something they pick up from others. It doesn't come from family, school, or society. It comes from deep inside. It's a quiet, personal system of values that guides how they think, feel, and make decisions. This is one of the biggest reasons they can't be controlled. Most people are influenced by their environment. They look around to see what others are doing. They follow the group. They follow rules because they were taught to. But INFJs don't work that way. They test everything against their own values first. If it doesn't fit, they reject it, no matter who it's coming from. They might not say this out loud. They might nod or stay quiet in a group. But inside, they're always asking, is this right? Does this feel true to me? Is this what I believe in? That inner voice is stronger than any pressure from the outside. This is why people have a hard time changing the INFJ's mind. Even when others raise their voice, use logic, or appeal to emotion, the INFJ doesn't just go along. They process it all deeply. And if it doesn't match their values, they quietly hold their ground. This confuses people. They think the INFJ is easy to sway because they're kind and calm. But the moment someone crosses a line that goes against the INFJ's core beliefs, they'll see a different side. The INFJ won't yell. They won't argue. But they will detach. And once they've made that choice, it's hard to get them back. This happens in relationships, workplaces, families, and friendships. Someone might think they're in control until the INFJ walks away without warning. Not because they're emotional, but because something crossed a line inside them. A value was broken. And for the INFJ, that's enough. They also don't chase approval. Some people change their values just to be accepted. INFJs don't. They're okay with being misunderstood. They're okay with being the only one in the room who sees things differently. They'd rather stand alone with their truth than join a crowd with no meaning. This makes them strong. People try to guilt trip them. They say, "Why can't you just go along with it?" Or, "You're being difficult." But the INFJ sees through that. They know when someone is asking them to give up their values. And they won't do it. It's not stubbornness. It's integrity. They were never built to follow shallow rules. They were built to follow purpose. And anyone who tries to control them by pushing external norms will always fail. Because in the end, the INFJ listens to one voice above all others, their own. Reason number 2. Their intuition makes them aware of hidden agendas. One of the INFJ's strongest traits is their intuition. It's not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, steady, and always active. While other people focus on what's being said, the INFJ picks up on what's not being said. They notice patterns, energy shifts, body language, and tone. And that's why people can't control them. If someone tries to use manipulation, guilt, or hidden pressure, the INFJ often senses it before it becomes obvious. They might not have proof. They might not even be able to explain it in words. But their gut tells them something is off. This warning system is fast. Before the person finishes their sentence, the INFJ already feels the shift. And once that shift is noticed, the INFJ becomes very hard to reach. They go quiet. They stop giving emotional access. They pull back and begin watching more than speaking. This is the INFJ's protection system. It's not fear, it's awareness. People who use charm or emotional tactics on others may expect them to fall in line. But with INFJs, those tactics often fail. They see through the act. They don't respond to fake kindness or forced loyalty. They respond to honesty. And if that's not there, they disengage. This makes some people uncomfortable. They feel like the INFJ is too suspicious or too serious. But what they don't realize is that INFJs are filtering out anything false. They're trying to protect their peace and stay true to what feels right. It's not about control. It's about clarity. The INFJ's mind is built to understand things on a deep level. They often sense what someone wants before that person even says it. This can make others feel exposed, especially if their intentions aren't clean. And when someone does try to push the INFJ in a certain direction, through guilt, fear, or persuasion, they hit a wall. Not because the INFJ is rude, but because the INFJ sees the truth. They know when a compliment is fake. They know when a favor comes with strings. They know when kindness is being used as a tool. And once they see that, control is no longer possible. They may still be polite. They may even pretend to go along for a moment. But inside, they're already planning how to get out of the situation. They're already detaching. Already done. People underestimate this side of the INFJ because it's quiet. But it's one of their strongest shields. It keeps them from being pulled into games, groups, or relationships that don't match their values. And once an INFJ learns to trust that intuition fully, they become nearly impossible to trap. Because no matter how good the words sound on the outside, the INFJ is always listening to what's happening underneath. Reason number 3. Emotional sensitivity fuels fierce boundary defense. INFJs are deeply emotional. They feel everything. Joy, sadness, fear, and pain all hit them hard. That emotional sensitivity may seem like a weakness, but it's actually part of their defense system. It helps them know when something is wrong, long before it becomes obvious. This emotional radar is what helps INFJs create strong personal boundaries. Not just physical boundaries, but emotional ones. And once those boundaries are set, trying to control them becomes nearly impossible. They don't need someone to yell or push for them to sense discomfort. A small change in tone. A pause in a sentence. A shift in energy. These little things tell them when someone is trying to push past their limits. And when that happens, the INFJ does something most people don't expect. They push back. Not always with words. Sometimes they go silent. Sometimes they pull away. Sometimes they remove access completely. But the message is clear. You crossed the line, you can't do that again. This is not about being dramatic. It's about survival. Because INFJs know how much damage can come from letting people too close, too fast. They've been through it before. Maybe they opened up to someone who didn't care. Maybe they trusted someone who took advantage of them. Maybe they let someone in, and that person used their kindness to control them. After that kind of experience, INFJs choose learning. They learn to protect their emotional space. They stop explaining themselves. They stop justifying their limits. And they stop giving chances to people who clearly don't respect their boundaries. This makes INFJ stronger, not colder. People who are used to pushing others around often find the INFJ hard to manage. They try the usual tricks: pressure, flattery, guilt, but nothing works. The INFJ can feel the emotion behind the words. And if that emotion feels off, they're out. They don't wait for proof. They trust their gut. This is how emotional sensitivity becomes power. It gives the INFJ a fast warning signal. It tells them who to trust, when to stay, and when to go. It gives them the clarity to walk away from someone trying to control them, even if that person is close. Some might say the INFJ is being too emotional, too sensitive. But those comments don't change anything. In fact, they just prove the INFJ was right to set that boundary in the first place. Because someone who truly respects an INFJ's emotions doesn't try to control them. They listen. They support. They allow space. INFJs are open to that. But anything less gets blocked. Their emotional depth isn't a weakness, it's a warning system. And once they trust it, they can stop control before it even begins. Reason number 4. Grip stress triggers, uncharacteristic pushback. NFJs are usually calm. They stay quiet during conflict. They think before they speak. They avoid drama and tension. But when they are pushed too far for too long, something flips inside them. A part of them that normally stays hidden comes to the surface. This is called grip stress. It's when the INFJ hits their emotional and mental limit. And when it happens, they don't just shut down, they push back. This reaction surprises people. The INFJ, who is kind and patient, suddenly speaks up. They become direct, clear, and even confrontational. They stop worrying about being polite. They start defending their space without apology. This is not how they normally act. But that's what makes it so powerful. People who try to control INFJs often do it slowly. They take small steps. They push a little at a time. They hope the INFJ won't notice. And for a while, the INFJ might not say anything. But inside, the pressure is building. They feel trapped, cornered, misunderstood. Then one day, something small pushes them too far. And that's when the grip stress response kicks in. The INFJ, who never argued before, now says exactly what they think. The one who kept the peace now calls out the truth. The one who always stayed disappears and doesn't come back. This sudden shift makes it clear that control has failed. INFJs don't like reaching this point. It drains them. But when it happens, it shows just how strong their boundaries really are. They may take a long time to react, but when they do, it's final. This moment also teaches them something. They realize they've been holding in too much. They see that being quiet isn't always the best way to protect themselves. They learn to speak up earlier next time, to set limits before things go too far. And that's a major step toward independence. People who thought they had control over the INFJ lose that control all at once. The INFJ might leave the job, end the friendship, walk away from the relationship, not because they hate the person, but because they refuse to stay where they are no longer respected. That's what grip stress reveals, the INFJ's hidden strength. It reminds them that their kindness has limits, that their patience has a line, and that once that line is crossed, they don't go back. This kind of pushback is rare, but when it happens, it changes everything. It reminds everyone that you can't control an INFJ by testing their silence. Because silence is not weakness. It's strength waiting for the right moment. Reason number 5. Independence is wired into their nature. INFJs might care deeply about people, but they don't depend on them. From a young age, many INFJs feel different. They think differently. They see the world in unique ways. And because of this, they often learn to rely on themselves early in life. This self-reliance grows with time. Even when they're part of a group, they still hold on to their independent thoughts. Even when they're in a relationship, they still need their own space. And even when someone close to them offers advice or direction, the INFJ quietly filters it through their own view. This is not a rebellion, it's instinct. INFJs have a strong inner world. They spend a lot of time thinking, imagining, and reflecting. They don't just accept things at face value. They ask, does this feel right to me? And if the answer is no, they won't follow along. This is why control doesn't work on them. People may try to pressure them into thinking a certain way, into changing their plans, into joining a group or system. But the INFJ always keeps one foot out of the crowd. They need freedom. Not just physical freedom, but mental and emotional freedom too. When they feel trapped, they shut down. When they feel watched, they pull away. When they feel pushed, they stop responding. This creates frustration for people who want to control them. But for the INFJ, it's just protection. They're not trying to be difficult. They're trying to stay whole. They also don't need permission to grow. Some people wait for others to tell them what's possible. INFJs don't. If they feel called to change, they'll change. If they feel ready to leave, they'll leave. If they sense something is wrong, they'll act on that sense, even if no one else agrees. That's real independence. They don't ask to be understood. They don't ask to be followed. They just want to be free to follow their own path. And anyone who tries to take that away will quickly find that the INFJ is not so easy to shape. This doesn't mean they can't love or connect. In fact, they often care more than most. But their love doesn't come with control. And they expect the same in return. If someone loves them, they must also respect their freedom, their silence, their need to choose for themselves. Because at the heart of the INFJ is something simple but powerful. I will go my own way. I will think my own thoughts. And I will live in a way that makes sense to me, even if no one else gets it. Reason number 6. Reputation for quiet leadership keeps control attempts subtle. INFJs don't usually chase the spotlight. They're not loud. They don't demand attention. But even in silence, they lead. Their presence is calm, focused, and steady. And people notice that, even if they don't always say it. This quiet leadership makes others trust the INFJ. In group settings, people often come to them for advice. At work, they're the ones who notice what others miss. In relationships, they bring stability. And because of this, people follow their lead without realizing it. But this subtle influence also creates a strange effect. Instead of trying to control the INFJ directly, some people try to influence them quietly. They might suggest ideas, ask leading questions, or try to get the INFJ to take a path that benefits them. It's not always aggressive, it's indirect. But it's still control. The problem is, INFJ sense it. Their intuition, combined with years of reading people's motives, helps them spot these soft control tactics. They don't always respond right away. Sometimes they go quiet and just observe. But once they feel that someone is trying to lead them from behind, they pull back. They don't like being directed without their consent. This is the part people don't understand. INFJs might not say much, but they notice everything. They know when someone is trying to shape their choices. And the moment it stops feeling real, they stop giving energy to that relationship. This doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from clarity. INFJs know what kind of energy they bring. They're not pushy, but they are steady. And they expect that same balance in return. If someone starts playing games or testing how far they can lead the INFJ slowly closes the door. They'll still be polite. They'll still show kindness, but the trust level drops. And once trust is broken, the INFJ rarely lets that person in again. What's interesting is that the INFJ's leadership doesn't come from trying to control others. It comes from being grounded in their own direction. And ironically, that makes them hard to control. Because a person with real inner direction doesn't get pulled by surface-level influence. They also don't need recognition. Some people can be controlled through praise or attention. But INFJs don't care much about either. They're more interested in purpose. If the path doesn't match their values, no reward will tempt them to follow it. That makes control very hard. Because you can't use guilt, rewards, or pressure on someone who isn't motivated by those things. You can't lead someone who's already decided where they're going. This quiet independence confuses others. They think, but the INFJ listens so well, they care so much. And that's true, they do. But that doesn't mean they'll follow blindly. Their care is real, but their boundaries are strong. The INFJ respects leaders who are honest and clear. But if someone tries to take control without being upfront, the INFJ shuts down. And once they step away, they don't return easily. So while others may try to control them in small, subtle ways, the INFJ sees it all. They don't need to argue. They don't need to prove anything. They simply refuse to give power to anything that doesn't align with their truth. And that makes them one of the hardest personality types to truly control. You can't control someone who's already chosen their path. That's what makes the INFJ so different. They don't resist control with loud words or angry reactions. They resist it by being rooted in who they are. Their values guide them. Their insight protects them. Their independence keeps them focused. In this video, we explored 6 powerful reasons why no one can control the INFJ. From their inner compass to their sharp intuition, from emotional defenses to quiet leadership, they are built to stand strong, even when others try to shape them. If you've ever felt confused about why an INFJ won't follow the crowd, now you know. It's not about being stubborn. It's about being true to something deeper, something honest, something real. And if you are an INFJ, let this be a reminder. You don't need to explain why you won't bend. You don't need to defend your silence or justify your choices. Your strength is not in your volume, it's in your vision. The world may try to pull you in many directions. But at the end of the day, your path is yours. Walk it with confidence.